hate to be heavy about this, but I could not stand here and not think about the fact as these esteemed gentlemen, ambassadors and the senator from the second best state in the tri-state area, I couldn't help but just realize that we now live in this insidious world where right now the state of Israel is under attack by Hamas, by Hezbollah. There's a madman standing in Iran determined to have a weapon of mass destruction who has sworn that he wants to and will destroy Israel and the Israeli people. We must recognize that right now we stand in a distraught present where there are people who are plotting, who are making it their very life purpose to destroy the state of Israel. And it goes further than that. If you are who you are, there are people that think that by destroying Jews, that they have an obligation. Let us not forget that in Mumbai, when the terrorists attacked, they indiscriminately killed people in that hotel. But there was one family, Rabbi Holtzman, that they sought out just because he was a Jew. He was their target, and he killed him and their family. And so I stand here with this understanding that was so well evidenced by the esteemed gentleman that spoke to me, is that this is an affront not just to Jewish people, but this is an affront to all of us, because there is a oneness of humanity. There is a oneness of the children under God. And so as I get the privilege of being in the presence of men from a unit who stood to face danger and peril and challenge and threat and hatred in a way that I've never had to face, I am in awe of their courage. I'm in awe of their fortitude. I'm in awe of the resiliency of a young man that was cast into the pit like Joseph, but yet still found a way, thanks to the brotherhood and the sisterhood and the love of people in Israel and beyond, to ascend from that pit back to his rightful place amongst his brothers and sisters and family. I know there are many parallels to what we face right now from my own tradition of people being hated just for who they are. I think of other great leaders from our common heritage of humanity. A person like Nelson Mandela, thrown into a prison, forgotten about by many, but still held on to by a love of a people who would not let his memory die, who every day worked for his freedom. There's a poem that he read that many of you know, it's called Invictus, that he said he focused on. It ends with words that most of you all know. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. That resolve, that determination, that indomitable will is what stands between us and tyranny. It stands between us and hatred. It stands between us and destruction. This is a time for us to celebrate the release of our brother. This is a time to celebrate the courage of a unit. But it's also a time that we redouble our determination not to let the flame of Israel to flicker again, not to let the threats of terrorism to ever roll upon her shores again. We have a mission to do, and it's not a Jewish mission. It is a mission of peace, and it is a mission of justice. I was in Israel in December and had a remarkable experience with two great, courageous soldiers who were assigned to protect me. And I had this moment when I put my parents to bed. I was trying to do a mitzvah for my parents to give them the trip of their lifetime. And when I asked my mom, where would she want to go? My father is suffering from Parkinson's. Think of this, I asked my parents anywhere they wanted to go. And they wanted to go to Israel. And I took my parents to Israel for what was a trip that I will remember for the rest of my life, and so will my parents. Weeping with my father as we prayed at the Kotel, sitting with great Israelis, listening to their stories of courage and heroism. But one night with these two former Israeli special forces, these soldiers who've seen trials and challenges that I will never know, something interesting happened. As I put my parents to bed in the King David Hotel, they asked me to come with them. And being alone without my normal security, I looked at these two men who could probably kill me in 150 different ways, and I said, yes. They put me in a Jeep and we drove off. And soon we were off-road into the desert. And I looked at my cell phone and I had no reception, and then I began to worry, is this what they do to the Goyim when they visit Israel? And we drove into the desert over a high hill, and thankfully I got reception back. and then we stopped and we got out, and there were the lights of the valley before us. And they pointed over to the far mountain, and they said, Cory, that is Mount Nebo. And as soon as they said it was Mount Nebo, and began to tell me what I already knew, that this was where Moses stood and looked into the valley and saw the promised land, I felt a chill go over me, because I knew what the Torah portion was of that week. It was the story of Joseph thrown into the well. But what was more important to me as an African American was that there was a sentence from that Torah portion that now sits upon a plaque in Memphis, Tennessee, in a hotel called the Lorraine Motel. It sits upon the very site where another man is honored. The words from the Torah portion are, "Here cometh the dreamer. Let us slay him and see what becomes of his dream." I looked at these two men who are different than me. I am black, they are white. I am an American citizen, they are Israeli citizens. I am Christian, and they are Jewish. And I asked one of the gentlemen to give me his iPad. And I pulled up the iPad and I said, I want you to know that God makes no mistakes. Gamza Latova. I said, there's purpose in everything. And I said, I want to show you something. And I said, you see that mountain there? I want you to listen to a speech. And I pulled up on the iPad the last speech ever delivered by a man named Martin Luther King. If you all remember the speech and the words that he spoke, hours later he would be slain and murdered. He said the words that I have been to the mountaintop, and I have looked over, and I have seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He talked of his fearlessness and his determination, and later he would be killed. As I stood there on this mountaintop, reminding them of what the Torah portion was, telling them of the Lorraine Motel, looking at Mount Nebo, and letting these Jewish, white, Israeli men listen to the speech of a black Christian from a generation ago, their eyes filled with tears as well. In that moment, we knew that we were all caught up in something that was bigger than race, religion, and geography. It is a cause of freedom. And you may throw a man into a pit. You may steal from us our greatest leaders. But as long as we are determined to fight for freedom, to stand for democracy, to defend those ideals that others are trying to take away from us, and we will, in this world, secure the highest ideals of humanity, that we will make justice roll down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. And so today, as we gather in this beautiful home of a beautiful man, giving honor to a group of the most courageous men imaginable, I ask us also to recommit ourselves to the cause of freedom, because there is still work to do. Israel is still under threat as we speak right now. The ideals that bond us together as men and women, the ideals to which God calls us to do, to fight for justice, to give charity, to love our fellow man, those ideals are challenged now. I want to end with just this last note, because again, in my tradition, this is an ideal that runs deep. There's a poet that I will end with, a man named Langston Hughes, who talked about the dream as well. And he simply said in poetic form, there's a dream in this land with its back against the wall. To save the dream for one, we must save the dream for all. Thank you.